Alright, so I've been asked a few times to try out Flex tools. I haven't seen many of them in Australia, but today we're going to head into Sydney Tools. I'm going to buy every single Flex tool that they've got in store, and we're going to spend a few days trying them out on site. Alright, so this is everything we've got in store right now. To start with though, we'll go straight for one of the 24 volt combo kits. And this has drill driver, reset, we've got the grinder and the saw, and that costs $2,700. So obviously this video is going to be a bit expensive. I do want to say thank you to Bluetti for jumping on board and sponsoring this video. With that combo kit aside, what else do we need? We've got the multi-tool here. That's $299. They've actually got a redemption on today, and I'm pretty sure buying that combo kit, yeah, there we go. It's going to give us one of these rattle guns. So we'll chuck that on top as well. Also, actually, I think it's this one that we get. The $349 rattle gun. We're going to go for the hammer drill. We've got two different options here. One at $299, one at $449. I want to get the more expensive one. Obviously, it's going to be the better hammer drill as well. And then I think the last thing that we can get is probably going to be the jigsaw. I reckon that will do it. All right, so this is everything we've got, and everything here costs us 2.7 grand. I got a bit mistaken when we were firstly taking the tools off the shelf, and I grabbed this combo kit, and right below it, it said $2.7 thousand. I think there's another 10-piece combo kit which must have sold out, and this is put in the wrong spot. And I'm very glad that this didn't cost 2.7 grand, which only came with about 6 tools. When I was reading out that number and grabbing the tools off the shelf, I didn't really stop to think about the price. But yeah, luckily enough, this whole thing and everything we've got here costs that 2.7 grand. Now anyway, I just want to get straight into this and open up some of these tools. And I'm really keen to have a look at these tools because I've never seen anyone in Australia use Flex before. Even when I went to Sydney Tools to buy them, I was chatting to a few guys working there, and they've said that they've barely sold any of these tools. They're quite new to Australia. You'd kind of guess that looking at the product range they've got. If I did the same video in the States, I'd probably be spending triple the amount of money I spent right now. It looks like they've even got a framing gun and quite a few different tools that I could use in carpentry. Now, first of all, I've just got the impact wrench out there. There's not going to be a lot I can really comment on with that tool until we actually put a battery in and start using it on site tomorrow. What I just want to do now is get these tools out, get these batteries charged up, and well, to start with, this is a massive rotary hammer. We did go for the more expensive option, and actually it looks very similar to one of the 54 volt DeWalt rotary hammers I used to have. And even though we haven't thrown any batteries in these tools yet, they do feel quite nice. Now obviously everything's going to come down to the performance of the tool, and wow, that's actually a massive jigsaw that we're pulling out right now. But one of the best things about Flex tools is they've got a lifetime warranty. It actually says, looking on the box, that there's a 5-year warranty, but if you register the tools once you buy them, that warranty changes into a lifetime warranty. And the blokes at Sydney Tools told me that you get up to 3 tool swaps. I'm not sure if that's for a combo kit. I'm guessing that's per tool. But if I was using this jigsaw and it broke down, something happened with it, I'd send it off to Sydney Tools. They won't even take it back to repair it. Straight away, what they'll do is just give me a brand new jigsaw, and they'll do that up to 3 times. I'm pretty sure that's 3 times per tool. Now, over my time, I've reviewed quite a few different brands of tools, and you're always gonna have a different brand that makes one tool better than another brand. A lot of the time, most tools do the same thing though, and most tools will have issues and end up breaking on you. So when you've got a warranty like that, where they're just gonna give you a new tool straight away, you're gonna be quite assured knowing that you can get your tool back, get the job going straight away. And wow, this oscillating tool has potential to be one of the best feel-in oscillating tools I've ever seen. Points straight away because of the make of it. I hate the oscillating tools where the attachment bit is actually sitting a bit higher up than the body of the tool. Because if you want to get down against a floorboard and cut the bottom of a door jamb or something, you need this tool to be sitting up higher than where that blade's going to be. And then, okay, they use the star lock feature as well. And to open this up to put your blade in it, we've got this lever here. I was trying to pull it up, but what we do is we're going to, twist it around. I wonder if it comes with anything. It does come with a few blades. They look like they're decent quality. I can't really tell anything until we use it though. But here we go. I just sit that blade in the tool there and then spin that around. And how easy is that? And we're good to go. That's a few brownie points already for flex. There's a few brands, for example, Hikoki, where for the multi-tool, you've actually got to unscrew a little screw, take that bit out, put your blade in, and obviously that takes more time, but then you've also got the option, or you've also got the possibility of losing that screw. And then if you do that, it's gonna be a nightmare getting another one before you can use the multi-tool. I love this one because there's nothing coming out of the tool and it's just super quick. Twist it around, take the blade off, chuck another one in, and yeah, you're good to go. I'm loving that so far. Anyway, let's get to the bulk of the tools though. We're gonna go into more detail on all of these tools once we charge up a few batteries and have them on the workshop tomorrow. I'm just too excited to open this up and actually have a look at what we got. Here we go. It looks like, yeah, most of these tools are in the flex boxes in this big combo kit box. There's a saw, there's a recip. We've got a carry bag. And I reckon that's going to be big enough to carry the tools from the combo kit. Seems like it's a decent quality as well. So we'll test that out. That's part of the combo kit as well there. Oh wow, okay, so here's everything else in the bottom of the box. And I'm just gonna throw this box down here and let's get everything up onto the bench. The grips on the handles has quite a nice texture to it. I actually like the feel of those grips. Drill and the driver just feel like any other branded drill and driver out there. For the drill, we've got a button with a turbo feature. We'll try that out. For the impact driver though, there's no settings, there's no modes we can put that on, which is a bit disappointing. I feel like I read somewhere that this impact driver is meant to have a button where if you press it, it releases a bit for you, and you can use that just in case your bit gets stuck. I don't know if I've made that up though, because I can't see anything on this tool that lets me do that. We've got a charger here, nothing too interesting with the charger. And then, let's have a look at this grinder. Grinders are another tool I get a bit picky on. I don't really love the grinders that have the little tab like that. Grinders can be quite a dangerous tool, so I prefer the ones that have the little trigger lever that you can hold down, because if you press it on, say you drop it or something, it's just gonna keep going. It's probably gonna be okay if you're using it with the handle. I hate like the bodies being the same size too. Can't remember which brands do it. I think it might actually be DeWalt. They have a grinder which starts wide and it goes quite thin where your hand holds it, and that gives you a really good grip around the grinder. That has been a little bit picky though. Apart from those couple of things, everything else does seem pretty good with that. I don't want to get too judgmental now until we've actually charged up these batteries and seen what these tools can do. So what do we have here? We've got two 5 amp, 120 watt batteries, right? Let's just get a feel for a couple of these tools. And that drill feels a bit heavier. Like, it feels like a similar weight to Makita's 40 volt drill. I've never heard of a brand doing 24 volt before though. I know a lot of brands in the US do 20 volt, which is exactly the same as our 18 volt in Australia. Technically all your 18 volt tools actually have 20 volts when they're fully charged, but as soon as you start using them, it jumps down to 18 volt. So that's why in Australia they're marketed 18 volt, but they're exactly the same as the 24 volt stuff in the US. 24 volt though, it's a pretty new one. And yeah, that's a bit of a bulky impact driver. I do like having a light drill and driver. These are both on the heavier side. Actually, I really want to get to the saw though. I feel like the saw is something that makes or breaks the combo kit, especially being a carpenter. It's going to be one of the tools I use the most. If the drill and the driver is a little bit too heavy, I can suck it up and you can make do with it. But if your saw is awkward to use, if you can't get good cuts with it, it's just going to do your head in on the work site. So firstly, let's get rid of that box. Here's our full-size recip. Love it straight away. We've got the rafter hook. That is a must for tools these days. And straight away, it is a bit heavier, but it's a similar weight to what you get for like DeWalt's 54 volt, Hikoki 36 volt, those like top end tools. So with that weight, I'm hoping it can deliver a fair bit of power, just as those other tools do. But here we go. This is a look at the saw, and looking at that box, it seems like that saw can't be too wide. It's a bit of a skinny box. All right, once again, we've got a bit of weight in it. I want to run and get a DeWalt saw because this looks like it is so similar to what their saws look like. It's a very, very similar design. We can see though, that Flex does have the rafter hook. Same as a recip, that is a game changer. But yeah, looking down at the tops of these tools, they do look quite similar. The Flex one is a fair bit heavier, but that is 24 volt versus 18 volt. I'm not sure how much difference in power that 24 volt is gonna make. That's one thing I'm really keen to try out. So let's get a battery in this. Yeah, that does get quite long. It's a saw that I would really struggle to use with one hand. Probably shouldn't be using the saw with one hand anyway. And I want to chuck a blade in it because I'm a little bit worried that there's too much going on here and you can't actually saw it where that blade's cutting. From my initial look and feel of these tools, they seem like they're going to be quite powerful and quite capable. I'm judging a lot of that with how they feel, how they look, and the size and the weight of them. That size and the weight normally means that there's a bit more going in on that tool and they're going to produce a bit more power. If that's not the case though, I'm going to be heavily disappointed. What I'm going to do now is we've got the 2 batteries. We're going to get them charged up and I'm jumping into a work site tomorrow for the next day or 2 and I'm just going to be using all of these tools. We want to push into the test, find out how good they are and if it's actually worth buying Flex tools. Alright, so I've just pulled up the site and I think today we're probably going to use most of the tools that we have in here. We're obviously doing a frame. We've got 4 units back to back. A couple of them are at the truss stage. There's a prefab unit at the end too that we've got to stand up. But there's a lot of stuff to do and I think we might use almost every tool here apart from maybe the jigsaw. That might be the only one we don't use. This frame as well is another job that doesn't have power. And I've actually been sent out this inverter about a year ago now from Bluetti. They sent it to me for an ad, but it has been a lifesaver for jobs like this. Normally what we do is we get the builder to drop off a generator, and that means all day when we're working, we've got a loud, noisy generator on site. Instead, I charge this thing up, and it normally lasts about 3 days on site. I'm going to be charging all my batteries today with it, and we've got a few guys coming onto site as well. They're going to get all the batteries going and charged up with this girl as well. So this one is the Apex 300. If you're looking at getting one, Bluetti do have a Black Friday sale coming up really soon. And for today, I might actually set this up. We'll have a look at all the batteries on charge in a second. And it's on 81% right now. There's nothing being sucked out of it because these ones are fully charged. But once we get all the chargers set up and a few batteries going, I want to see how much percent that drops down by today and how many batteries we can really charge up. All right, so we're about to get a good use out of a few of these tools. So far this morning, we've been on the end unit standing the wall frames. So I haven't really used any Flex tools. I've actually had the saw out. A few of the boys have been using it. They've had a lot of good things to say about that saw, but we'll have a look into it a little bit later when I actually jump on and try it out. For now though, we're going to pick up the rotary hammer. We're also going to get our impact wrench and the drill. I'm going to use these 3 tools and give them a bit of a workout as I go through and chuck in, hang on, not that, holding the wrong thing. We got all these dynabolts, which are the tie downs which are going to hold down the bottom plate. So we're going to go through, pre-drill the bottom plate, drill the hole into the concrete, and then tighten them off with the impact wrench. It's a good little job to start with. We'll get 3 tools tested. And actually, while I'm here, looking at this rotary hammer, it's actually got something that I've never seen before. So right now we've got the end of the tool, which any rotary hammer or hammer drill has, where you pinch that down and put your bits in. And it confused me a little bit when I looked through the box after filming that bit yesterday. But we've actually got a proper drill attachment, and it looks like that goes for the hammer drill. Yeah, if I pull that up, I twist that, that is insane. That whole thing comes off, and we can put that on. So where does it go? If I pull that up, that is insane. So you can turn this rotary hammer into a proper drill and use it in case you need a bit more power or something. You know what, in saying this could actually be a game changer if we're going through and doing a lot of holes through steel. Because normally if we're doing that, we've got our typical drills and you're pushing all day, you can't get enough power or force with it. I don't know if that would be the best job to try this out with, but I know you're going to get a lot more power out of this. So I'd actually be curious to see what this can do with that drill feature. For now though, we'll take that back off and we'll use it as our proper rotary hammer and get these little concrete screws in. Sweet, so these are the diner bolts we're using. The way they work is once you put them in and you tighten that head there, it pushes down on the sleeve, which opens up and expands at the bottom, locking them in place. The big comment I get as well is why we don't use washers with these. Ideally, a washer would be great. We're not the ones that supply them though, it's the builders that supply these, and they actually don't need a washer, because if I take this off here, you can see they've got a flanged head where you got the nut, and you can see it's got that lip that goes around it, and that acts as like a mini washer holding that plate down. Anyway though, in terms of the tools, firstly with the impact wrench, we're not really pushing it to its limits. It feels nice, but I can't really get a lot out of this little job here. Same with the drill. Once again, feels nice. It feels like any other drill out there. The one tool we're testing a little bit more is the rotary hammer, and it does feel quite nice. When you're using it, I'm not getting much vibration in my arm, and I was holding that one-handed because I was trying to film, and we had no kickback or anything on it whatsoever. So far, I'm pretty happy with all the tools. We'll just keep on going though. Hang on, I spoke a little bit too soon. We just had the first problem with the drill, and it's nothing that I really care about. But when I put the rafter hook on, it also came with this little thing, which goes on the other side of it. We had one for the impact driver, also one for the drill, and it's made just to put hex head bits in there. So I've got the screw in the side of the drill there, and that screw went through this, holding that in place. I think I just picked up the drill and my finger just knocked that, and it just pushed it through that little screw. It just ripped off super easily like that. It's not a main structural component of the drill. It's something that I probably wouldn't have used anyway, but that's the first little issue I've had. It'd be a bit annoying if it happened on the impact driver and I had a couple bits in there which I lost. So that's not a really good start for the drill. Actually, I also said we're going to check how the bluetti battery's gone as well. There's no point checking today. Actually, I'll turn it on. 75%. We didn't really charge many batteries. We're just doing prefab balls, so we're flicking out, and then we're using the Pazzies, and no one put any more Pazzo batteries on charge. So we'll get that going again tomorrow and see how that goes. Alright, day 2 of using the flex tools. I've already got the saw out. I think we're going to be testing a few more of these tools today too. Once again, I've got the inverter out now. We're sitting at 75%. We've only got one battery on charge. We're going to get a few things charging today though, and give this battery a proper workout. So Bluetti do have a Black Friday sale coming up, and it's going to be the biggest sale they've had all year. We've got up to 58% off. So if you've ever been interested in buying one of these, now's the time to check out the website, have a look at what's on sale, and save yourself some good money on it too. Honestly, that cuts through like butter. I know we got a fresh blade, and that does make the world of difference. But the saw also feels quite smooth when you start spinning that blade. Some saws you turn it on, and you'll see even here if I turn it on, it kicks very slightly. There's some saws where you press that trigger and it really kicks back on you. This one's quite minimal like that, and I actually like the feel of using that trigger as well. You don't need to really squeeze it with your finger, it's quite easy to pull on. You do have the safety there though, so you're not going to accidentally just knock that and cut yourself or cut a finger off. You do need to press down on that safety to use it. It's the first cut done though of many, and I'm liking it so far. I said it when I unboxed it, but this rafter hook and the recip is a huge advantage. There's so many brands that don't have this rafter hook, and just be able to hook it up on the wall while I go through and mark out what I need to mark out saves so much time and effort, meaning that I don't have to keep running up and down the ladder to pick it up between cuts. So for this frame, we've got these screws that we're going to be putting in, going down through the top plate into the studs. We're using these instead of doing the typical hook-on straps that I do on most frames. And for that, we're obviously going to get the impact driver out. We're going to put this to the test and see how it goes driving the screws. But before we jump in with it, it does feel like a really smooth tool. Press that trigger, it responds instantly, and it feels really smooth to hold that down. Let's see how it goes with its power though, getting these screws in. We spent the last day or two doing trusses in this unit over there, and that first unit. So I've been on the roof, and the only tools that we've really been using is the saw, which has been getting quite a bit of a workout, and still after using it for a few days and quite a few cuts now, it's still cutting like butter, and I'm a good fan of it. The one big thing I always look at with saws is if I'm holding it like this, I want to make sure I can see that saw blade, and I'm looking right there, and you can see that saw blade through that window. Because when I'm cutting, I don't really want to look at the base plate to see where I'm going to hit that line. I'm looking right there to see where that saw blade hits the timber. And yeah, I'm happy with that. It's a bit tight, but you can get in there and see where you're cutting. So I've been pretty happy with the saw. The reset is another tool we've actually been using a fair bit as well. And honestly, it's been an awesome reset. So these are the tools we have been using. There's a few in here though that we still got to try out. We've got the multi-tool, we got the grinder, and also the jigsaw in here. Alright, let's get the jigsaw going. What do we have? Okay, so that's just a light that shines down. Apart from that, we don't have any, there's no settings for the power. And that's one thing I've noticed with a few of their tools. There's no power settings on the jigsaw. Same as the impact, you can't back it down and make it go a bit slow if you want to. So I'm not happy about that. The other tool though that we want power settings for is the multi-tool. And yeah, same thing. Oh no, hang on. We got the power settings here for the multi-tool, that's good. There's power settings for the grinder as well. I've actually never seen a tool that has that, and I don't know if you really need that, to be honest. And for the jigsaw though, oh, I'm completely wrong. We do have it in there. I was just skimming over the tool, and I completely take that back. So everything's got power settings apart from the impact driver. I was going to double check, but I've definitely, I haven't missed that anywhere there. It's pretty good for the rest of the tools though. Let's just get going. I've got a 45mm thick timber beam here, and we're just going to start with a cut and see how it goes. Look, it goes alright, but this is probably the first tool that has just been alright. Nothing special. If it was a smaller size jigsaw, I'd be completely happy with the power we get out of it. It's just really big and it's quite bulky compared to the power that you get. Nothing bad though, it's nothing that would really annoy you when you're using it. It just doesn't seem to be as great as the other tools we've got. In saying that, I should probably check. So that's the lowest power. Yeah, we definitely were on the max power there. The only bad thing I've got to say about this so far is when you're grabbing it right there, all that weight is in the battery, so the tool's falling down in your hand a bit. It is really light though, so I don't think that's anything that's going to be a concern. And the other thing I love is when that battery doesn't sit down lower than that blade. So if I was trimming out some door jambs from the bottom of the door, I can just line that against the slab, and yeah, that blade's completely flat there. We've actually got a bit of lift, so we can get into some tight, tricky spots if we need. And this is one of the best Starlock features I've seen as well, to quickly change the blades over. So I'm quite a big fan on how this looks and feels. Let's see how it cuts though. So if I turn that on, that is definitely going to be the best multi-tool I've actually used in my life. That cuts through so quickly. It could be a testament to the actual blade that it comes with. That thing works a treat. And the other thing about this as well is that you do get some vibration, but not a lot of it goes through to your hand. I'm actually quite a big fan. The only thing that's a bit of an issue is I'm noticing it now the more I hold it, but it isn't balanced properly. So there's a lot of weight going down to that battery, but I'd almost take that than them trying to put more weight in the top of the tool and making it even heavier. That is an awesome multi-tool. I'm a big fan of that. And I'm actually shocked that this grinder has that power setting. I've never seen that before. That one is balanced really well though. Not that you should ever do it, but it actually feels quite comfortable if you were to use that with one hand. The one thing I don't love is that little switch there though. I think the DeWalt ones do it really well where they've actually got the trigger you got to squeeze down. But you should always be using this with the two hands. I don't really have anything proper to use this grinder on, so we just might use this wheel and just take off the edge of this timber here just to give it a little test and see how she goes. Straight up, that's not too good. I can feel a lot of vibration to the point that it almost feels uncomfortable holding this. And both my hands, both the hand holding the body and also the hand holding the handle there, they felt a lot of vibration, and yeah, it did feel a bit uncomfortable using that grinder. So that is a little bit disappointing compared to how good all the other tools have been. Anyway though, that's just a quick look of me using those tools after a few days. And going into it, I had no expectations on where these tools are going to sit. I've never seen anyone use Flex on an Australian worksite before. So they are a new brand to Australia. We did see it when I walked into Sydney Tools. There weren't many tools on the shelves there. Since buying them and using them, I've started to see a lot more people in the US actually owning these tools, and their range over there is massive. I understand that you guys have Flex framing guns, you've got obviously battery miter saws, you'd have your routers, your planers, everything you need. And I'd actually love to get my hands on a whole range of Flex tools and see how they go as an entire range. The 24 volt tools seem amazing so far, and actually the last thing I do want to do is get the saw, and I think we've got an off cart of an LVL somewhere, and I want to test that one out, ripping into the LVL. That's going to show us how much power that the saw has, because that's a job that more of the 40 volt and 54 volt tools can do, but the 18 volt tools struggle with. So that's going to show us where these sit with power. Apart from that though, with everything else, I'm going to say that these are probably one of the best brands of power tools I've used. So that's a 45mm LVL. There she goes. Oh, I tried pushing that a bit too quick. Let's do that again. That wasn't anything impressive. As soon as I tried to push it a little bit, that's when it started to jam up and struggle. It could obviously cut through it, but it did feel quite similar to a lot of those 18 volt tools out there. If anything, it might have had a bit more power, a bit more speed going through that. That, as we can see, was a LVL beam filled with water, so it would have been quite thick to try to get through. But if that was a brand new 40 volt Makita saw or 36 volt Hakoki saw, they would have ripped through that so much quicker. So I think that 24 volt does feel like it might just be the smaller step up from the 18 volt tools. In saying that though, it has seemed to be so much more quicker and more powerful going through just your simple pine studs that we've been cutting. Even the recip, they feel like they've got a bit more power behind them. So it must just be that smaller step up from the 18 volt tools. Anyway, I think this is going to be a brand that I'm going to use a lot more of, just because I've really enjoyed using their tools. But if there's any other brands out there that you guys are interested in, please let me know down below, because I'm actually enjoying this concept of going to a store, buying a ton of new tools and testing them out over a week or two. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and yeah, just let me know what other brands you'd like to see.